What is going on, everybody? Welcome back, Reap fans. We are back with another great matchup here. We got Casual Mains versus Food Fighters here, and getting into these picks and bans. I'm joined by El Rosa. El Rosa, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty well. Ready to watch some good old-fashioned Reap Smite game.
Yeah, getting right into these matches. I mean, both of these teams kind of have been on. We see that Food Fighters have kind of started out, um, in a not tricky situation. They've gone. I believe they've gone 1-1, in these past two games. Well, Casual Mains have been going straight off the bat, hungry, looking strong, looking good. Um, onto that matchup there, and they're gonna start off with these Ratatasker and Ishtar bands.
Rat's a little bit of a weird band. You don't really see too
Mhm.
much of him. Ishtar, of course, very standard. Daji coming through, also very standard. But the Food Fighters have also had some very interesting roster moves as well. Like, they haven't stayed the same
Mhm.
throughout week to week, so well,
Mhm.
I'm kind of interested to see how this roster comes together after they made that trade for Loshak and picked up the Goose from free agency.
Yeah, definitely a lot of roster a lot of roster shakeups from that squadron over there. They're also going to be missing End of Days, it seems, as Papa Nike will be subbing in for him down in that thing. But let's take a look at that Scylla ban. If you haven't noticed, Scylla just got a lot better. And I kind of want you to squeak to that as to why.
Well, Scylla in the last two patches has gotten some pretty large buffs, coming with the what was it, 20% increase to minion damage on
Yep.
the two, and also making sure that whenever you press that two ability, whenever it lands, it always gives you that magical shred rather than when you hit them with it. So that
Mhm.
just made Scylla a lot stronger of a pick pretty rapidly. And then Vulcan coming through, he's been strong since he got the buff to his one, so he can actually be top picked and without worry of being hard counterpicked by picks like Ardio and Aerie.
Yeah, definitely. The fact that his movement ability is uncrippable has made it very, very, very strong. It's also kind of put him in a situation where we've seen him kind of get a lot better, a lot stronger, but we've also now come into a meta where now Aegis is allowed to be back into the game, which does hurt him quite a lot. His ultimate being able to be Aegis, I mean, it's a very easy ability to see and react to, but it can almost always force that ability. So I'm interested to see kind of how that pick adapts into this new meta.
Yeah, and then the Hades coming through, that god got hit with a pretty sizable early game nerf, but that strong late game ability to dive is still much the same. So I'm kind of interested to see what this means from casual mains, where they're going to kind of put their focus to around the map, seeing if they're still going to play around the Hades like you can, or if they're going to maybe draft more
I am
pressure
the
like
terror
mid
of
or
the
duo.
depths!
Yeah, coming in with this Charybdis pick, I really, really like Charybdis. Just especially when you're looking at a pick like Ymir and Hades, where they can trap you. I mean, Vulcan's gonna have a tough time. It almost requires a shell to get out of those Ymir walls, and so it's gonna
With
be
me,
very,
you
very
all
tough.
shall flourish
In
and
these
prosper.
situations to deal with. So I really, really like that pick. As for the Sun Wukong, I'm not so certain about that pick. I haven't really seen Sun Wukong explode anywhere. I haven't really seen it get a lot better. It must just be something more Loshak comfort um in that top three.
Yeah, Sun Wukong is an interesting pick, especially since you don't
Mhm.
see the backline, because Wukong is very good at one thing, and that is killing those backliners. Like,
Mhm.
he's not necessarily the most standard tank where you're going to sit in front and tank a
Mhm.
bunch of abilities. You are looking to get in there and kill people, and without a backline to really look towards, he's more of a counter pick right now, I'd say. It's
Mhm.
an interesting pick to say the least.
Yeah, very interesting. But what isn't really interesting is this Cernunnos pickup. It's just pretty standard. I think Cernunnos is probably, in my opinion, the best ADC. I know a lot of people disagree. A lot of people think that Ishtar is very, very up there. Some Cupid enthusiasts still hanging on um, to their wrong opinions. But so very, very or very standard to see that kind of pickup. And I'm a little surprised that Charybdis got picked up before Cernunnos did.
Oh, well, then you kind of look at the players. You know, Vile Artist
Mhm.
known for kind of this safe style of ADC.
Mhm.
So he might gravitate towards that Charybdis more. I'm not surprised to see Hawk picking up the Cernunnos. It could also go to mid lane as well, because Cernunnos does, of course, bring that huge prot shred. It's what, 26 protections?
Mhm.
That's like 10% on a tank, which is absurd for a basic ability. Uh, so he's just a very strong pick. You can throw him in mid, you can throw him in duo, as Naja gets locked in.
Naja this late into the draft almost never happens. It's definitely one of those picks that is very very surprising to see from this point into the draft. Even though it's she's not been as favored as she initially was after her buffs. Some things have changed since then, and it looks like we might be seeing something way more interesting. Are we seeing a possibly an Odin support coming out here?
In all likelihood. Now, it could be Wukong, it could be Ao Kuang in some weird universe, but it probably will be this Odin pick. This
Mm-hmm.
Odin, very interesting support
Face the
pick. He's kind of
wrath of a
fallen off as
sorceress
like hard
scorned.
aggression in duo has not really been in favor for quite a while now. But he
Mm-hmm.
does bring that incredible wave clear of a 2-1, just instant clearing the wave. You don't even need your hunter to hit it. And he also does bring in some pretty good lockdown with that ultimate. And, you know, the attack speed buff as well from his one. It's an interesting pick, but I could see it working in this game.
Yeah, I could definitely see it working. A big thing that they have about that pick though is look at that enemy team comp. I'm seeing one character that can easily get out of those walls, and I'm seeing four that just can't without at least a shell or something extra, a little something special, um, to try and get out of those, Odin walls. So even though it's a little unconventional, I think it's very wise, especially when you're paired with someone like Vulcan who can almost cover the entire cage with his own ultimate. So I actually really like this Odin pickup.
The Food Fighters seem to have drafted a very heavy dive count. Like, all of their characters are
Mm-hmm.
looking to get in there, except for the Vulcan and Charybdis. Well, Vulcan's not necessarily the safest god. Charybdis is. Charybdis is the safest hunter in the game. Vulcan, at the very least, can just drop that ultimate at his feet and make sure that people don't go on him for a couple seconds. So they've drafted a very strong "I'm gonna kill you" frontline with that Ao Kuang execute, that Odin cage making sure that the fight gets split, and Wukong, like I already covered, very strong at just killing people. Now, Morgan Le Fay also going to be very safe, gonna get that ability, but she cannot get out of Odin ult. So if that Odin drops ult on her, you're gonna need a Phantom Shell. You're gonna need to get out of there in some other way, because you don't have a leap.
Well, I mean, it also cuts off another big part of her safety. She does get CC immunity in her ult, but another big reason why it's so hard to kill that character is because of all the healing that she gets from it, and she won't be able to do that in that Odin cage.
Yeah, that's another thing that this Odin cage will bring as we are gonna go into the game.
Yeah, getting into this game, we'll kind of have to see how these play out, kind of how it works out here. I'm very sort of this early game. I'm really interested to see. I want to see if Bo the farmer has been kind of paying attention to the meta, because if you know right now, Invade in duo has been extremely strong. So I want to see if Bo is kind of willing to commit to that idea. He's willing to try and go to that. So that's something we'll have to look out for in these first few minutes in the game, because that can really, really, really impact a duo lane, because you can force the ADC to not get XP from that purple buff.
Yeah, invades are usually very strong. Invade meta pretty top tier right now. You're able to get in there, especially on a god like Ymir. Even Odin, I would maybe expect these two supports to maybe even meet at like Scepter and just smack each other a little bit. Um, but we do see Gilded Arrow starting to get picked up here. How do you feel about that, Muff?
I am a Gilded Arrow hater. I think I still think that I don't think the buffs really impact what makes Gilded Arrow good. So I might be the stubborn old man hanging on to his ways, but I personally don't go Gilded Arrow. I don't think it's the play right now. But both of these ADCs both going it, and for someone like Vile, it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense to try and go that relic, especially because of his own playstyle. His playstyle is a very passive one, that just tries to survive until the late game, and Gilded Arrow works perfectly for that.
Yeah, Gilded Arrow giving that
Mhm.
very strong upgrade, a lot of crit chance if you look towards that build, and crit has come back into the meta. It gives you that ability to have, I think, 20 extra crit chance, which is very strong for a starter item for free. Well, not for free, but
Mhm.
and we also see Bogue go towards this Mana Core Spike first item, which hasn't really been the start since it got nerfed and moved up to 2400 gold.
We see Vile Artist getting engaged upon, being forced to use that beads immediately, and if he didn't, he was just dead. This Ymir Cernunnos lane is there aren't very many lanes you can theorize to be better than that current lane, because it is just extremely dominant with how aggressive it is, and I would not be surprised if we saw purple invade early into this game.
If you're looking at two gods that just want the whole W in that duo lane, Ymir Cernunnos might be the top. They're just so strong at instantly clearing that wave and just running at you. Which we saw there, Vile was forced to expend the beads. If he was a little bit later on that, he might have just been dead.
Yeah, he's having to be putting into his 3, and I mean, any other character there is just a goner. He's still able to survive onto that Cryptus, but he has to be very careful, and I think he's stepping up a little bit too far here. We see Hawk landing the Bramble on him. Will he be able to continue on? That 3 is going to be coming up soon. The beads come out. He goes in for the auto, gets the first blood. Goose not able to do anything there, as a nice collapse on him from Hawk, getting the Bramble, hitting it in, recognizing that he has that kill opportunity, and that's why you gotta play safe after your 3 is down. I preach this all the time. It is the cardinal sin of ADC players to walk in after your escape is already down.
I mean, no god wants to walk in when their escape is down, but you see Vile kind of force it. He pushes up,
Mhm.
and he gets punished. That Bramble Blast is rooting him in place for far too long, and he gets punished for it.
ODST Spartan just barely living there. And speaking of that purple buff invade, I mean, it's already happening, and we could even see them. I know this team has tried a lot to go for these red invades as well, and that's really how they've been trying to play this early game, really trying to get ahead on these early aggression invades. And now, you know, they've kind of put the foot at casual mains. We're 1,000 gold lead already within the start of this game, and now they've kind of given food fighters the opportunity to say, well, now you have to deal with us. This is what we're doing. You have to deal with it, which I think is a very strong position to be in.
This is exactly what the casual mains draft wants to do. They want to get that huge duo pressure so then they can just force that across the rest of the lanes. And they are executing it wonderfully. First, that first blood from Hawk, forcing ODST out of lane so he couldn't contest that red buff. They're just playing the map very well right now, and food fighters aren't responding to it.
Well, they couldn't respond to it. I mean, they were dead. They're in a situation, which is, again, what you're talking about, that great, you know, duo lane pressure that they're getting is the reason they couldn't even attempt to respond to that situation over there. You know, this duo lane is just able to position so aggressively. Vile positioning very aggressively, though. Being forced to use the 3, still sticking in there. He could be in a tricky spot here as we see Vika Fortunato going in. Goose using the dash, getting collapsed on by Vika. See Hawk hitting level 5. That ultimate is going to go down. It's going to pick up Vile. Will Goose be able to get out? And it looks like he will be able to walk out. Now Vile, already 0-2, has got to be kicking himself for that one.
Vile using the Whirlpool form very aggressively, using it to knock up Bo as Excel goes up and
It looks like in this situation, though, Excel playing extremely aggressively. Will he be able to pick up the kill and get a nice taunt there? Vika missing the robo as Poppin' Nike pops in there looking for the kill. He's able to pick up the turn onto Excel. What a nice return gank from Poppin' Nike to come in there. Oh, but it looks like we might not be done, as ODST Spartan could be in a little bit of trouble. Gonna be forced to use the beads to get on out of there. And I'm sorry for interrupting you too many times, but these teams just keep making me with how aggressive they're playing.
Yeah, I mean, they're both just looking to brawl.
Mm-hmm.
Seems to be the name of the game from both of these teams. Vic misses the sash, leads to a return kill from Papa Nike onto Excel after that Vulcan doesn't die. and then ODST gets his beads forced for staying a little bit too long into an Emir, and you just can't stay that long as well. But
Mhm. Yeah, it is very tough, especially with, I mean, this Ymir has so much pressure into this middle lane just because of that wall alone. With those beats being down, I'm a little surprised Spartan's even willing to step this far into the lane.
yeah, especially since you see that they don't have very good ward coverage. At any point, that Emir could just sneak up behind him. That Emir could just come out around, stun him for 1.5 seconds, and you're just a goner at that point.
Hmm.
Vulcan does not have the survivability that some other mages do, like the Morgan Le Fay. Uh, so that's just, you're treading on dangerous water there, but
Hmm.
nothing's come of it thus far.
I mean, he's still walking up, poking in a 3v1. Like, he's got to be a little bit more careful here. I would not be surprised if we see him taking early trips to the gray screen.
Yeah. It's an
See,
interesting.
Wild is so low. The ultimate coming out there, but barely living into that situation. That is very great for him to live, but still he's going to lose a lot of these minions. And I mean, he just has to play underneath his own tower at this point.
Lyle just bought Devos as the Goose steps up. Looks like he'll
Mhm.
be fine.
Goose stepping up. He's a support, though. The wall coming out, though, looking to try and make a play here. Freeze coming down. Hawk rotating into the side, but it looks like we see ODST on the way to make sure that he is A-okay.
As I was saying, Vile just got his
Mhm.
Devos, whereas Hawk already has 25 stacks. He's already
Mhm.
almost stacked it while Vile just bought the item. That can't feel good in the carry lane.
No, I mean, as a carry player myself, when you're at this point in the lane, you're already telling your jungler, like, go somewhere else. It's not gonna help for you to come over here. You need to make plays happen elsewhere because this lane is lost. And at this point, Vile has to sit there and just farm. And that's all he really can do at this point. He's gonna be farming for the next 10, 15 minutes.
Farming is the name of the game, but he's going to have a very
Mhm.
constricted time doing it because you can't contest any of those side camps.
Mhm.
If he walks up to them, at best you get your ultimate beads and Whirlpool Form Force.
Mhm.
At worst, you just die. It's just a very tough position to be in, a Charybdis from behind, because your safety might just not be enough.
Yeah, especially with the one weakness that Charybdis safety has is it doesn't go very far. You have a lot of immunity frames, you have a lot of CC immunity frames, but it just doesn't get you a lot of distance very quickly. And so overall you can go pretty far, but it takes a long time to really get there, and that can be not enough time, especially when an ADC like Cernanos is trying to run you down.
Yeah, Cernanos also having those slowing autos, it's just very rough if you don't have immunity to get away from the Cernanos. He also has the root, of course, and Casual
Mhm.
Man's going to pull a Gold Fury.
They could here. I think they're in a position where they're so far ahead on this duo side. They have secure. It looks like that Vile Artist is in a really bad spot. That ultimate coming down, and that could be huge for him there. Vile Artist going to be taken. Ooh, but the Ymir wall almost ensuring that Vile survives there. A little bit unfortunate. Just a small miss. We see Papa Nike looking to get aggressive with the Goose here, but taking a lot of damage instead as Hawk is looking. He's on the prowl, trying to get in there and make some plays happen, but at this point, food fighters are in a really tough situation.
Yeah, Vic spots out Vile just walking through the jungle, and she instantly grabs him and takes him up into the sky. And that's what you can kind of expect to happen to any of these backliners that are just kind of a little bit out of position.
And speaking of out of position, Goose over here just full on out of position. Looks like he already used his jump as he will go down. Dorky wannabe Goth getting the nice kill there. Although Loshek could be in a tricky situation, but he's Sun Wukong. I won't believe it till I see it that he's heading to that gray screen right now.
No, I'm not an expert on support. I'm not an expert Odin player. But in my opinion, you don't use your leap when you're walking through the enemy jungle unless you're really far ahead. And the food fighters are not really far ahead, so that was just a very risky play taken unnecessarily from the Goose.
Very, very, very high risk, low reward. I mean, the best case scenario is that he steals a single cup. Well, you're the support. You're an Odin. You can just walk to their cups and steal them anyway. So very, very high risk, low reward, and it doesn't pay off as Casualman's picking up another spot to start another lead.
And we see the blue buff invade come through as well. That's
Mhm.
something that Hades can just do, especially since he did technically get buffed past like level 10. So
Mhm.
he's at a pretty strong state right now. He just has that ability to just walk
Mhm.
up, steal your blue buff. He does like 600 burst damage to it. What are you gonna do? You're a Wukong. You only hit for like 200 at most. It's just kind of an unfortunate scenario, and when you don't have pressure
Mhm.
anywhere else, it's just very rough to fight into that.
It looks like Pop and Nike could be in some trouble here, though. He is a few levels ahead, but it looks like it might not matter. He might be in some trouble. Walking forward still as Vika is on the way. Vika hitting the sash here. Will it be enough? Pop and Nike looking to make something happen. The Odin cage coming down, and it looks like that will help as he's able to dodge most of Excel's damage as he gets out of that fight. A fantastic Odin cage to be able to save one of the core members of your team. Ymir Wall just off the mark there. Not going to be able to hit ODST Spartan, but it looks like it might not matter. The beads coming out as the rest of the team is still looking. Bo taking the tower for a little bit longer, but it might not be enough as Vika getting caught out here on that Chongo. Will that ultimate hit? It just barely misses, but Sun Wukong still looking. He will not find the kill. It will not land as Vika just gets out just in time as we see Dorky Wannabe Goth going in there doing a ton of damage, and that's going to be ODST Spartan going down. That's one, but it looks like he's not done as Loshak also looking to be in a bad spot, but Papa Nike gets the freeze. Will it be enough? We see Bo the Farmer using that ultimate out there, but it might put him in a tricky situation as Papa Nike gets the execute. Excel also getting very low as Loshak and Papa Nike both looking to go onto him. The Goose ended up picking up that kill, but Papa Nike goes down on the other side of the fight. And that's going to be one of the most insane 2-for-2 I've ever seen.
You know, I was already ready to break it down and say, okay, both sides, no one falling. And then I see Dorky arrive, and he just turns that into a complete brawl. He just pops in, goes in there, pops his ult, and despite the full rotation from Loshak as well, it just turns into a 2-for-2. Even though Loshak got there first, because ODST kind of stayed a little bit too long. His beads were forced prior in the engagement by that Emir freeze, and he just walks up into the middle of the lane, not expecting the other solo laner to rotate. So that was a little bit of a blunder, but they still managed to trade it out 2-for-2.
Yeah, he still manages to trade it out 2-for-2, but I mean, this Hades gets a lot off that. I mean, he's now 3 levels ahead already at this point. We still don't see, I mean, any anti-heal at all from the Sun Wukong, which is part of the reason why I think he's completely unable to contest him for even his own blue buffs and even his own farm.
Yeah, you're right. It's just hard to build anti-heal in solo unless you're going to build an Ankh. Those aura items aren't very good. Like Contagion and Pestilence, they just aren't very efficient stat sticks. So it's kind of hard to contest Hades in that way.
Mhm.
But the Food Fighters do have one like piece of hope here. The one thing that they can kind of look forward to is this Ao Kuang is ahead of this Naja.
Mhm.
Ao Kuang, if he can get to late game, is a very strong pick, and he has that ability to just hyper carry the game.
Yeah, we'll have to see, kind of what his deal is there. He still has to worry. It's not, it's not as clear cut, not as easy. He still has a lot of CC to worry about. So we'll have to see kind of as we get into this game, especially with the solo laner now already looking to invade his own back camps. It could be a tricky situation here, but Hades is a very, very tricky god to catch in these situations. Loshak not being able to stun, and it looks like that is going to be done for the rest of this fight here. As it looks like on the opposite side of the map, though, they're not done over here. They're going to pick up Vile. They're going to grab that Gold Fury over on that side of the map, and really the only thing that they can do is hope for a blind Vulcan ult contest.
They're going to pick up Pyro on the other side, so that kind of stems the bleeding a little bit. As Vulcan does come over, going to look for that steal, maybe. It's going to just hide over in that corner. Hawk's going to walk up to him, though.
He might have been able to stop it, though. I mean, him being there is such a massive threat. They miss the sash, and now he's almost free to kind of do what he wants, but he misses the ult. As well as Excel coming in, looking to rotate here. Beads being forced out. The rest, both teams kind of collapsing. Loshak in the situation, ingraining himself here, but it looks like it's not going to be enough as they get that Gold Fury. And now we're starting to see where leads really start to matter. I mean, at this point, this gold lead is at about 6,000. I mean, how do you think Food Fighters is going to be able to play into a 6,000 gold lead?
It's very hard to play into a 6,000 gold lead, especially when you're down as much in XP as well. Like, this isn't level 20. This is 4 levels in solo, 3 levels in ADC. Everywhere else almost equal, but those side laners. Once these team fights start to happen, solo and ADC are just very strong roles on the map. It's very hard to play around it when they're so far ahead.
Yeah, I mean, especially, I mean, looking at both of these, you never really ever want to be 4 levels behind in one lane, but being 4 levels behind in two is really when you're kind of in your oh crap, like which you almost have to kind of find a way to sneak farm in both sides of the map.
Interesting that the Charybdis has elected to go a power pen build with Gilded Arrow. I feel like you don't go pen if you're looking to go Gilded Arrow and you'd rather just go down the crit tree.
To be fair, oh, it looks like the Goose here might be in a tricky situation. Seeing a lot of that Vulcan ult coming down, doing a lot of damage, but it's not going to be enough as both that Odin Cage coming in there. Excel could be in a tricky situation here. That ult coming out, doing some healing. Najah picking up one. Loshak looking to do some damage, but Papa Nike will fall. Loshak looking around this corner. ODST Spartan as well here, and they could be in a tricky situation. Hawk getting in there, doing some damage, and ODST Spartan will be CC'd, and that'll be the end of him there, as Dorky Wannabe Goth is not done, as he's willing to continue on to this fight as they pick up the nice tower there.
The Goose thinks he's tankier than he is. Mm-hmm. He just steps a little bit too far out. He's like, I'm a support, I'm pretty tanky. No, you're down a lot to this other team. They're just going to shred you, and they're going to pull fire off of that huge fight from them.
Yeah, I mean, pulling fire at this point is definitely a respectable call. It's a little bit early, but when you're this far ahead, I mean, it's all to them. It's almost like a 22-minute fire giant. We see Loshak looking to come in there and make something happen, but he's just going to be CC'd to oblivion. The wall coming in there ensuring, and now he'll fall as well as the fire giant going straight to casual mains. And this is a very tough situation to be in. You're already so much gold down, and that's not the end of it. There's still 3 more towers to get off this gold, let alone if they're able to get any phoenixes as well on top of that. It's looking dire for Food Fighters.
It's looking very, very dire, as you said. It's just a very hard position to be in. But the one thing that you can kind of look towards is saying this Hades isn't that tanky. So it's going to be the level 12 Emir that's going to be tanking most of these towers and phoenixes, whatever they decide to siege. So you can probably defend off of that, especially since he did go Magi's, which only gives you 10 protections of each, which just allows him to be shred through that much easier. And there's no emperors or any item like that. So it is going to be a little bit easier for them to repel than it would if that solo laner was something like a warrior, like a Guan Yu or something of the like.
Well, I mean, especially with Bo the Farmer not opting for that Thebes, instead going for that Mana Core spikes. He's not going to be as tanky either. He does have that Spirit Robe, but I just don't think he has enough tankiness to really full on tank these towers. So they might not be Phoenix ready, but there's definitely a lot of tower potential.
Yeah, especially if they're also looking to just split push trade mid tier 2 for this left tier 2. I'm not sure that they'll get it though, because they didn't send their ADC over. That's just a Vulcan and...
Yeah, but it looks like Papa Nike getting engaged upon here, and it's going to be a tough situation. They're going into this Phoenix fight. Loshak getting CC'd quite a lot here as they're taking that tower. Loshak gets up into the air, into that ultimate, but that'll ensure that he gets away. But what won't be getting away from them is that Phoenix, and they don't even get the tower over there either, as we see ODST Spartan just off alone on the map, on their side of the map, and I can't think of anything else to say, but what a misplay.
Yeah, you have to be 5 to defend that Phoenix. Pushing up, as soon as you realize they're pushing further, you can't stay in that tower. You are not going to get it. You are a Vulcan and a Odin. You don't have the tower shred necessary to just do a tier 2 like that. So instead, they decide to stay out, and that leads to their Phoenix getting lost. And even though there weren't any kills, so they were able to defend the rest of the birds, it makes it a lot harder for them coming this next Fire Giant.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be a massive issue coming into this next Fire Giant, as well as the fact that, I mean, this gold lead is still extending, from this point forward, as they keep getting more and more objectives. It's almost like a springboard effect as they finally get done with all the towers, and oh, here's some new objectives to go grab. That Pyromancer and that Gold Fury. That Gold Fury just came up, and they'll be able to grab that Oni Fury as well. And who would have guessed at 21 minutes into the game there's going to be Oni fire waves to deal with?
Yeah, I do not envy the position the food fighters are in right now. The best thing you can hope for is maybe you steal this next Fire Giant with that Earthshaker, that huge damage ultimate coming through, maybe changing the game. But even then, you're 13k down, you still can't really push anything at that point. It's a very rough position that they're in right now.
To be honest with you, if I'm in the food fighter's shoes, I think I just give up next Fire. I think if you die trying to contest that fire, it is all but as good as game. And I mean, if you can get a little bit, you have a little opportunity to grab some farm. If we could see Vile get a few more levels, and we see ODST Spartan maybe hitting that level 20 barrier by the time that they're sieging these Phoenixes, then there is an opportunity of defense. There is a possibility, especially with how their team comp works. You can see a massive Vulcan ultimate to change these fights. I think I would be in a situation where I just give it up. But we see the beads. Aegis coming down from ODST Spartan, but he is caught fully out. He's going to use his beads. Aegis ultimate all going down, and that is going to be a free kill, and that is the only thing that is standing in the way of Casual Mains and this Fire Giant that is soon to be on the map. And I mean, realistically, I don't know what you're doing up there at this point in the game.
If you're gonna step up that far, you're trying to clear the wave. You're trying to get that XP. It's just, you can't step up that far without some ward vision, because as you saw, as soon as that sash came out from Vic, it was just very hard. He used beads Aegis, but then instantly just gets deleted when the rest of the team comes in.
Vic is just a shark right now. She's looking for blood, and all really Spartan did there was let a little bit out. I mean, so here I am, come get me. And as a Vulcan, I can't think of a more irresponsible thing to do.
Yeah, you're a Vulcan. You don't have that safety. Even if you did have that safety, you're still too far up considering the circumstances.
We see Loshak getting involved in their Goose, throwing out that Odin cage, but it will not be enough as we see Dorky Wanna Be Goth getting into that backline, almost 2v1ing Vile, picking up the kill, but on the other side of the map, everyone is gone. They're disappeared as we took 2 seconds to look on the opposite side of the map, and Vile Artist is all alone, to defend. He's gonna have to defend against fire minions on that left side, as on the right side we see Casual Mains looking to end this game. They're hungry to end it. We see Vic going in. They're canceling that out. His beads are gone now. He has to throw in that ultimate, but will it land? It will not. Hawk looking to try and force him out of this fight. Hawk picking up the kill, and that is surely gonna be as good as gone as Casual Mains takes game number 1.
That was a thorough domination from Casual Mains. From minute 1, they just said, we are going to take this game to you. We are going to take as many fights as possible, and we are going to win them. And they managed to do just that. They managed to just pull through from minute 1 to minute 24, just fully in control.
Yeah, I think even someone who's almost never seen Smite before can see what casual mains did right in that game. But what I really want to know is how do food fighters come into the next game, and what do they improve to come back with a better performance?
You have to look towards Duo, maybe say you got to play safer, because a lot of what happened there was Vile just playing a little bit too far up, using that whirlpool form, and then walking up aggressively, and you just can't do that into the insane kill pressure that Amir Kernanos have.
Mm-hmm.
Also, maybe just drafting a little bit of pressure in the jungle, maybe allow the mid and right side to, you know, do things, because it's just hard for a Wukong when he's getting his blue buffs taken, when he's getting everything done to him. And even though that Ao Kuang did get ahead, he just wasn't able to really do a lot with that lead. Like, Naja was still just hitting a lot harder.
I mean, yeah, speaking of hitting a lot harder, I mean, looking at these player damage numbers alone, like Pop and Nike was never able to ever once this game hit someone with more than 3 autos. As soon as the third auto was about to come out, he would be freezed, he would be sashed, he would be feared, he would be, he would be crippled, he'd be root crippled, he would be walled, he would be, and I think Ao Kuang into a team comp like that is just a recipe asking for disaster. As he comes in, he's not able to really do anything, he's not really able to contest anything, and he just kind of goes down.
Yeah, I don't agree with the Ao Kuang pick, especially considering they picked it pretty late into the draft when they already saw that the name of the game for the casual mains was pressure. Ao Kuang is not necessarily the god that you're going to have to contest that pressure. He just wants to farm up to late game, and when you don't have pressure somewhere else, you're just kind of going to be pushed out. You're going to have your backs taken, as is what started to happen towards the mid game. That Hades just moving across the map like a typhoon, just coming across, just causing destruction wherever he went.
Yeah, Hades is something that they're going to be having to look out for in game 2, but do not go anywhere. We will be right back. We're going to go to a quick break as we go right into the next game. Welcome back, my little Reapers. Me and El Rosa are game number 2 here. And speaking of what we were talking about before we kind of went into break, how do you think food fighters should approach the draft knowing what happened last game?
So I think you scrap the entirety of that front line. You just kind of look towards something a little bit more standard, I would say.
Yeah.
Just
I would definitely agree with something a little bit more standard. Looking at standard, though, I mean, these bands are almost as standard as they come.
We do see the Kepri ban, which I don't think was banned away last game, which is kind of interesting. Scylla also getting banned once again. Those buffs apparently pretty valued by the food fighters and don't want the casual mains to get their hands on her.
Yeah, I've seen Eon, their team owner. I've seen him kind of raving and ranting about how good Scylla has become. They've kind of removed her only weakness in that early game portion of the game because her clear is now one of the best early game clears of any of the mages.
And that right there is a top pick that I am a huge fan of. Thor coming from casual mains.
We know, and it looks like Food Fighter's willing to go for the Hades this time. Hades Neja, they just said, you know what, it worked for you guys last game. Let's try it this game. Let's see if we can replicate what happened last game. And I'm a little worried because they left out one of the most important pieces of the last game that has just now shown up. Casual mains, Bo on the Ymir, and I'm at the point where if Bo is up, or if Ymir is up, I think Bo is just going to take that pick.
Yeah, I think Bo has kind of turned into a huge Ymir enjoyer as Tyr gets locked in. That's usually a pick. Tyr's usually a solo pick where it's like, I'm feeling this god. Ormungandr also getting picked up. That's a Shaq pick.
That is a pick that Shaq has in the back. Had it definitely coming up in the SDL a few seasons back. Kind of continuing the old days with that pick.
I mean, some would say that the admins even chose that themselves, but like,
I would. But Cupid getting banned here. I respect a Cupid ban. Especially at this point, Charybdis getting banned out. It looks like they might want to put Vile on something a little even less safe than a Charybdis.
even less safe than you mean any other god? They just don't want to be on the safest god as possible. Because
I don't know if they know, but Vile is the Jingwei enjoyer. So we'll have to see if they decide to take that away. And it looks like Cernanos once again getting banned here. Quite nice to do it twice. As as it happens there. Rama getting banned as out as well. And Rama's another one of those picks. He's been a little bit sneakier in the meta, but I still feel like he's a top pick there. Just kind of sneaking under the shadows.
I mean, he's the most standard ADC, right? Like, all of your abilities are just, hey, you get to left click a little bit better. So in a meta like this, where, left clicking very nice, he's gonna be pretty okay. And Food Fighter's gonna lock in that Jingwei, like you were alluding to, Vile Artist, very notable for his Jingwei gameplay. So going towards that pick, not really a surprise.
Yeah, and I think if you're playing against someone who is super, super, super aggressive, I think Jingwei just makes sense. Jingwei just gets back to lane quickly when you get poked out, when you make all of that happen, and we see Chernobog coming out from Hawk there. Chernobog is an interesting pickup because Chernobog has just fallen out of favor in the meta. He had some nerfs. The meta shifted, and kind of all that culminated to him being left out of the new meta. And I'm curious to see what he does on a pick like that. It's something that's not as aggressive. You're into a Jingwei, so almost everything you play can be played aggressively, at least for the first few portions of the game. But it's something that's not nearly as aggressive as the Cernanos, and so I wonder how that'll dictate his play as he gets into this game, into the mid game.
Yeah, so Chernobog still just brings that global pressure, and. Is that going to be a Hades mid and Fenrir support? If so, that's a very interesting draft from the Food Fighters. Hades isn't able to be quite as dominant when he's not in that 1v1 in solo. Can't quite latch on to mages as well as he can to those melee characters. Fenrir, also another interesting pick here. He doesn't have a problem with the mirror walls. He also can't get knocked up when he's in that brutalized, so tier can't really get off. But if you're playing him in support, you're gonna look to, I don't know, exploit the vulnerabilities of some characters. He's mostly just gonna look to pull the beads off of the Agni, I would say, which I mean definitely can work. It's just gonna have to be finding that target prioritization. And if Drezzy is playing this pick as safe as Agni can be played, then it's just going to be kind of difficult to get that off.
Yeah, they're in a very tricky situation because they're kind of royally outclassed in range, especially with that Hades pickup. It's going to be tough for Hades to even get into the fight, let alone get into a fight where they don't still have their dash up, especially with how much range that Agni has. Ymir walls, a lot of things, Thor walls as well. They've really got the double wall comp. That can cause a lot of havoc with some good communication. I'm interested to see what are they gonna do to abuse some of these picks that Food Fighters have locked in.
Agni just very good at bringing down that artillery. Also very good at just getting away. Able to dash that dash is very long. Just able to make it out of most situations. But the Food Fighters did do something that they didn't do last game. They actually picked pressure. They have places around the map that they can actually play around, like this Jormungandr. A very strong matchup into the tier. Tier, of course, can't knock up Jormungandr. Naja, also a lot stronger than that Ao Kuang was. Fenrir, even good at getting pressure into the lane, even though with a Jingwei, it's not going to be necessarily the strongest pressure lane. And Hades, of course, known for his early game. Even though it did get nerfed, it's still relatively strong compared to a lot of other mages who need quite a few items to get online. But
Yeah.
Hades is just able to instantly kind of pull into that. Although in duo, the Emir is still going to be pretty strong. I wouldn't look to play towards duo lane if I was on the Food Fighters this game. I would maybe look towards that solo side, see if you can get some blue buff invades. See if you can just kind of push the lead that Jormungandr kind of naturally gets over on that side.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I'd like to see, them play around the solo lane. Jormungandr has a lot of pressure, and into this dual lane, Fenrir can generate a lot of pressure. I don't know how much pressure he can really generate into a Ymir. Ymir is gonna have that freeze, very very easy CC to just say, hey Ymir, or hey Fenrir. Nice try. You really did. You really tried to brutalize. You're only gonna hit one of those though, because I don't want you to hit anymore. And I think as long as Chernobog is willing to play around that, as well as Chernobog being able to cancel them by going into a wall. So it's gonna be very, very, very interesting to see kind of how they play around that.
Yeah. An assassin. An assassin in duo will always kind of naturally bring that pressure, but like you said, Fenrir into Ymir isn't necessarily the best matchup. Uh,
Mhm.
it's just kind of hard to get your brutalize off. The freeze just coming out pretty quickly. Won't be able to stick to that Chernobog. I am kind of interested to see if the casual mains try to play around that solo side because they do have the Chernobog. And normally when you have the Chernobog, you want to play as far away from that Chernobog as possible, just
Mhm.
so you have that ability to, make sure that the other ADC can't follow that rotation.
Yeah, it is tough, but even especially in this meta, rotating is so hard because you have to consider the opportunity cost of rotating. When you rotate over these fights, especially in duo, if you don't get anything, if you're not getting a kill or two, you're gonna be down a level or two. And I think that's very big. And I wonder how we'll see that as we go into this game here, see how they kind of adapt to that play. Which side of the map are they gonna choose? Are they gonna choose to play around Chernobog because that was working game one and game two, and that's how they got that early lead by invading that purple and that red buff? Or are they gonna choose to try and say, well, you picked Jormungandr, that's an early game god. We want to shut that down and play around that, and we have Chernobog to come help us, even if we might get a little behind doing so.
And we see the Naja support actually going to be the pick here. I like that less than the Fenrir, if I'm going to be honest here.
I
Naja
agree.
doesn't really bring as much,
Mhm.
especially considering that their follow up afterwards without a traditional mage isn't the best. I feel like if they lock something more towards like a Scylla or a Poseidon, then it would just synergize a lot better. You'd be able to, press those buttons good, put out a lot of damage instantly off that come down, but like you just have a Hades. So it's a little bit interesting to put that Naja over in support where you need a lot of burst coming down rather than that Fenrir.
Yeah, I think putting Naja in support right now, it does help because that ultimate buff giving protections in case you miss. But if you're missing on Naja, you're almost losing your entire value as a character anyway. And so we'll have to kind of see how that works because Naja is kind of reliant on getting ahead, especially in this duo-centric meta. We'll have to see, can Naja even really get ahead of someone as aggressive as Ymir, someone who can generate so much pressure? And it looks like, I mean, just clear-wise stating right now, no. As we see him getting froze, Hawk doing a lot of damage, dashing in here, both getting knocked up, but it looks like they're still going to keep going, and that is going to be the first blood going to Hawk, and that is not what you want to see if you're a food fighter. You picked a gimmicky duo lane, and you're already behind.
That's the problem with Naja. You have no ability to get out. As soon as they hit level 2, it's just very hard to escape there. Especially into an Emir who has that huge slow on us too. It's just so rough when you're in that position.
You've just got to be a little bit more aware. I mean, they Casual Mains did a perfect job of setting up for that level 2 spike. They had kind of cut off the exit with the one from Hawk, and kind of basically told him you can't really leave now. So now we're gonna clear these minions. We're gonna deal with those. And then they decided to go on level 2, but it looks like they might not be done yet. The Goose looking to take even more damage, already taking a ton of damage. Vile Artist taking a ton as well. The 2 coming out doesn't hit. The 1-2 combo hitting, but it's not going to be enough. Oh, we see Agni going in here, being very, very aggressive here. but it looks like that is going to be all. ODST Spartan looking to dash in. Both these teams walking back and forth. Vika Fortunato taking a lot of damage, but so is Pop and Nike, both getting extremely low, but it will not be enough as both junglers find their way out of that jarbled mess.
We see... Oh,
but we're not done. We see the Goose falling again. Hawk is down again, and as a nation support, you cannot be this far behind, but we're not done. ODST Spartan in the mid lane is gonna have to back on up, put the brakes on, as he's all on his own, all super low into that mid lane.
I don't know what happened over on left. All I saw was a Naja going in when they were a level behind into a Chernobog Emir, which doesn't feel super good, especially considering you do fall immediately after. That dual lane kind of starting to snowball. Chernobog might not be the best pressure pick, but when you have 2 kills, he starts to feel like one.
Ooh, but we see Drezzy bidding in with a nice engage here. They're gonna miss a little bit of damage onto ODST Spartan, which would have been just enough. As we see over here in the left lane, Goose coming in here. Will Goose decide to go in? He's 2 levels down already. He's playing aggressively. They do end up hogging that purple, securing it, but... I mean, at this point, you're already getting your purples invaded. You had to have played more safe earlier.
I'm very surprised that the dual lane of the casual mains didn't just decide to turn around and kill the Goose. Because it felt like after all of that pressure they had, they could have just turned around and said, "You're a Naja, you're level 3, you do nothing." And just kill them, but he does manage to secure the purple, which definitely helps stem the bleeding. Even though there's already a 1k gold difference in favor of casual mains, it's just kind of turning into that same thing that we saw last game, where duo starts to snowball, and then it just kind of spreads throughout the rest of the map.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you're on a pick like Neja, snowballing is so important. It's almost required. For the character to be effective in that role, and now when you're looking at team comp and you're saying, how well does a utility Neja set up for this team? And without really a burst mage, I don't really see utility Neja putting in that much effort for the team.
Oof. Jormungandr has went towards Stone of Binding, which I must admit, not the biggest Jormungandr player, but Stone of Binding is just an interesting item, I guess. It's very cheap. You get it online very early. It's pretty efficient as a stat stick, but I feel like you don't really proc the passive very well as it gets up into the ultimate, barely managing to escape with his life.
It's Jormungandr. We knew it was coming. We knew it was gonna happen.
Any real danger, but
there's a few interesting things. As someone who has dabbled in the elements of Jormungandr, there's a few interesting things that I'm noticing here. One, no gilded arrow, which seems to normally be something that is all in favor every Jormungandr really wants to see. But we see Vika Fortunato looking in on a Papa Nike. The ult is forced. They're looking for one, but it might be leading to his death as he gets CC immunity from that Ymir ult, and then he has nowhere to go as he falls. But it looks like we see the Goose going in, looking to try and set up for that team here. See Drezzy going in. The beads popped out, but he cancels the dash, and they're going to be able to pick up the kill. Vika Fortunato not having any mana. There isn't really anything else that Bo in her can do in this fight.
Yeah, you see the problem of Fenrir into this composition. Just that long CC immunity from Ymir, you're never going to really be able to pick him up. But we also do see the dash from Drezzy beautifully canceled, so he is stuck in that Pillar of Agony, taking a ton of damage. He tries to beads, but at that point, it's just too late. You've already taken too much damage.
Yeah, I mean, he needed to either pre-beads to make sure his dash didn't get canceled, or he needed to do something else. But it looks like Vika Fortunato could be the one in trouble here, as we see the hammer getting canceled, but it looks like she's going to be just A-okay, as Pop and Nike might have the favor return. The freeze comes down, the 2 coming out as well. But ODST Spartan doing his best to peel. Goose over here, but we see Hawk coming in, looking for something here. The CC immunity coming out, but it's not going to be enough. Hawk picks up the Goose as the rest try to get out of that situation. And that is what you want to use that rotations for. That is what you need, because in this situation, it's going to lead to a nice, fantastic Gold Fury for this casual mates.
Even though that fight doesn't go their way, and they might just lose the Gold Fury over it. In fact, they will lose the Gold Fury over it. I would like to say Spartans 2s have been on point. This man has canceled out so many abilities so flawlessly that it's just creating so many opportunities for his team at the moment.
Yeah, and opportunities is what they need, especially in a situation like this. But the dunk comes down. They keep going. ODST Spartan taking a lot of damage there. Drezzy still looking to make something happen. He's still active. He's still able, looking to try and keep it going. That barely doesn't hit as the Agni Bomb leaves him seething, but he'll be able to get right out of that situation once again, surviving on a little amount of health.
We see the Goose barely going up into that ultimate right before that Thor dunk comes straight down, barely managing to avoid that damage. And then we also see the fact that, you know, they don't have that mage, so as soon as he comes down, well, the target can't really be gone on. You know, there wasn't a Pillar of Agony waiting either, so it was just kind of, sure, you used Wind Fire Wheels, you immune to all that damage, but you didn't have any return of your own.
Yeah, no, especially it's very, very tough when you're in a situation where you can't get a huge return like that. But I mean, it was a nice idea. It just unfortunately wasn't able to be executed quite as nicely as we saw the Goose start to get collapsed upon. Jormungandr looking to be collapsed upon, but he has that ultimate. He's going to decide to use it early as he goes over back towards safety. Oh, never mind. It looks like he's gonna do a few pop shots over to Dorky Wannabe God, trying to make a little bit of action happen in this solo lane.
Another thing I would like to bring attention to is the fact that this Fenrir went Hydra's first item, which, you know, that Fenrir does have some pretty good auto attack cancels. You know, that 35% additional damage on a basic. But that 35% isn't going to be as big as if you just would have went like a Jotuns or a Brawlers, in my opinion.
Guys, the maces are good items. They are good items. Buy them. Looks like we could see a little bit of a solo invade here. Vika Fortunato being able to secure it with the hammer, but could be in some trouble as that escape is down. But Bo the Farmer looking to come in behind. The Thor ultimate coming out. The wheel coming out as well. They're going to throw off the first wall. Can they throw out the second? Will it be enough? That ultimate coming down as well. Jormungandr will fall. Papa Nike's ultimate falls as well as we see Vika beads down. And that is going to be that. Casual Mains picking up 1-0 kill right there.
That was just a lot of body blocks there. That Jormungandr trying to snake back to that tower, just unable to make it past the mass of bodies in front of him. So he ends up eventually falling. Also, probably not as tanky as you would like at the moment, being that you only have that Stone of Binding and that Tier 2 breastplate at the moment, even though he just bought the Tier 3. It just, that can't feel super great.
To be honest, with this Stone of Binding, I don't like I feel like it's the lose of the middle ground builds here. You know, you're not gonna go the Gilded Arrow build. You're not gonna go the full tank build. You're gonna go a hybrid build where you don't really do a lot of damage and you don't really do a lot here. But speaking of not doing a lot here, ODST Spartan is gonna get CC'd to oblivion as he falls.
Yeah, just stepping a little bit far up there.
I mean, I like when ADCs have some confidence. I think this right there is a little too much. But speaking of confidence, we see Casual Mains in the enemy jungle looking for Papa Nike, but he'll be able to get out of there. A-okay. Oh, but Loshek could be in a tricky situation. Gonna go into that ultimate though, as he does still have that online. Looking to try and, you know, create a little chaos, save this tower, but it will not be enough. Hawk's over here. He's rotated. He's doing a lot. you know, being able to rotate after that proxy wave, you know, to rotate over to this fight with little to no consequences.
He wasn't even that far ahead. He was a level ahead, and he was like, "I'm gonna go proxy your wave. What are you gonna do about it?" And nothing happens. Hawk
Yeah.
just proxies the wave for free, and then just walks to mid lane, gets this Pyromancer, and he's gonna walk back before he misses the wave.
Yeah, I mean, he is gonna back here, so he'll probably miss a little bit of one wave. He'll probably miss a little bit of one wave, but I think that's gonna be it. As he kind of just walks back to lane. He could ult back to lane. He does have that opportunity if he chooses not to miss any farm. But it could be in a tricky situation. Drezzy having to use the beads there. A quick pop shot there from the Goose, coming in, making using that ultimate to get that quick beads.
Yeah, that blink also being expended from the Goose, you know, kind of. That's a good beads pull, definitely.
Yeah,
If you
I
can
think
manage to force out that path of flames from Drezzy later on, then you just get an instant pillar of agony, and that agony will just die.
they also have this Fenrir ult to rely on as well. There's a lot of potential off of getting that beats down. I think that's a very, very good trade, and I think the Goose should be looking to do it almost every chance he has. The Goose, though, looking to get in a little aggressive here, but Vile just not in the position to make it happen. But who is in the position to make it happen? Vika Fortunato looking to come in here. Hawk playing very aggressively, losing a little bit of health, though. But Vile losing a lot of health from those few autos. Definitely some crits mixed in with his autos there. As we see over here, Bo the Farmer being annoying. We see Loshak trying to come in here and make something happen. He's going to go on to Hawk. He's going to do a little bit of damage, but it's not going to be a lot. He's going to take just a little bit more from Thor. As we see on the other side of the map, Drezzy getting killed and picked off by ODST Spartan. Up and Nike forced out. Vile Artist back over here towards this fight. But it looks like that is going to be all for tonight as he kind of goes on out and moves out of that situation. As they go towards this Gold Fury, though, there's still potential. Loshak in the sky, looking to try and make something happen onto this Gold Fury. Agni Bombs are available, though, and Casualties will secure the Gold Fury. Vika Fortunato looking in there, dunking down on Food Fighters as Loshak looking to try and make his way out, but he doesn't have that ultimate anymore. He is getting CC'd. Slow is all he sees on his screen as he goes down as well. But a very clean fight from the casual mains.
That all comes off of that mid lane fight. That tier getting in there, forcing that poor Hades to just.
Oh no! We see Pop and Nike gonna fall as well. Just being a little too aggressive. ODST Spartan, don't do the same mistake, but Drezzy might be in the bad situation. As we see the Goose taking one up into the sky, but he might not be able to finish it off. In fact, Vika still aggressing after being Neja ulted. Not every day do you see that happening, but Food Fighters does kind of get a consolation prize in Drezzy, but losing, what, 3 tied over the course of that fight and a Gold Fury? That's how you see 7k gold leads.
Yeah, Drezzy did learn a very valuable lesson there. You can only dash in on the Food Fighters 3 times without beads before they finally realize, I have a Pillar of Agony and you are just dead.
Mm-hmm.
So at the very least, they are able to get Drezzy, but it's still not a very good position. Like, it's just kind of, the casual mains are starting to snowball. If Hawk proxies another wave, you can look towards this Fire Giant. It's just not a position I envy.
Well, it's hard to proxy a wave when that tier 1 is, I mean, it's already down. So, I mean, if he's proxying waves at this point, Food Fighter's got a lot more questions than I have the answers to. If they would let him get away with the proxy at this point of the game.
I wouldn't doubt it, man. Proxies are always possible when you least expect them, as we've learned here today.
Yeah. It looks like ODST Spartan looking to get active, looking to make something happen, but it looks like the Goose is of a similar mindset here. Somehow a level ahead in this situation. I think Ymir's just kind of been a little bit more active around the map.
Yeah, that Ymir just providing a lot more traditional frontline than Naja. You know, just able to kind of force those beads as quickly as possible. As there's 4 on left from the Food Fighters, leaving to a 3 fire.
They're just going on to fire Loshak in the sky. That's their only hope in this situation. But they can wait him out. they can make sure and kind of wait them out in this situation. But it looks like they're not going to. They're just going to go for the secure. Casual mains will secure the Fire Giant, and they committed way too hard to that left side.
They forgot that if you have one person on the right side of the map, Chernobog doesn't have to be on that side of the map anymore. So Loshak being over on the right side just leads to a free fire. Also, just having Thor on the left just isn't necessarily the play at this stage of the game when you are behind and when the other team has such good shred potential.
Especially even if they didn't have great shred potential. Chernobog is one of the characters that can waste the most time in a ganking situation. He can go into that wall, and then when he gets out, he can ult immediately. And if you don't know, when he lands, his cooldowns get reset. But speaking of reset, Papa Nike is going to have to reset those beads as he gets out of there. Drezzy Fire Tick's going to pick him up as that is not a good situation. The Ymir wall coming down, forcing the momentum to stop, and it looks like they're going to choose to back on up. They're going to wait a second. They're going to recalculate and decide whether or not they should go in with this wave, but it looks like they're going to go steal some farm and go towards these towers.
Yeah, tower sweep always very beneficial. This 10k lead is just going to grow. It's going to continue to just get bigger as these towers fall. I don't think they can defend this.
It looks like Neja going into the sky with one. Vika Fortunato looking to be flicked out, but a nice ult from ODST Spartan. Gonna pick up the return there as they're on the prowl, they're on the chase. Dorky Wannabe Goth looking to find his way out. We see Loshak hungry for more. Goose hungry for more than anyone else as he's in there. He's 2v1ing. We see ODST Spartan getting in there as well. Vile looking to enter the ring and make his name known to casual mains, but it looks like they are going to be able to escape, only losing one, which is amazing for them in this situation.
Yeah, they might give this tower as well. I admit my mistakes. I didn't expect them to be able to defend that, but then they pull out a beautiful defense under that tier 2, managing to get a pick onto Vic. Now, does that put them in a winning position? No, but at least it breathes life into the rest of this game.
Yeah, it does. It does breathe some life. They're going to be able to get this Gold Fury, and they still have to worry about Fire Giant pushes. That all happened so quickly into the Fire Giant that they're still going to have to worry about these Fire Giant pushes, but they've already proven that it is possible, that they can be a part of it. Hawk looking to get aggressive here, but there's just no one on his team around, but Food Fighter's just going to take the win and back on out.
Yeah, and that was a tier 2 tower defense. That wasn't a Phoenix defense. That wasn't the best that the Food Fighters have. That's a suboptimal defense position that they managed to hold.
Yeah, it looks like forcing Beads Aegis out of Vile there. That's something we've got to look out for that next team fight, and kind of see what they do. They've got to say, hey, the target is Jing Wei. You know, we see Thor. Thor is just a one-shot god, especially with that 2 now doing just a little bit extra damage, just in case he didn't get it with the rest of his abilities. Now you're in a situation where they could absolutely try and look for a Phoenix Siege, but it looks like they're just gonna settle for these Oracles and try and get those instead.
Interesting build from the Thor as well. As you said, that wall getting some damage, so it now procs items. The Crusher is built, which very good on Thor at the moment, but there is no Heartseeker, instead opting for that Arendite. Now, I've used Arendite on Thor before. It is a perfectly fine item, but Heartseeker just provides so much value to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, with the buffs, you know, that was the big thing everyone was talking about. Thor now is so much better because his 2 can proc Crusher and Heartseeker, and Thor solo is good now because it can proc Bluestone and Warrior's Axe. And so I think these are big things that you've got to be looking out for when you're playing Thor, because those are kind of what made him good. Dorky Wannabe Goth in a little bit of a tricky situation. Food Fighters all grouped up as 5, looking to stand their ground, and they've looked like they found the final battlegrounds to stand them at. We see Hawk going in. Loshak quite out of position here, going to be forced to use that invisibility, but it will not be enough. We see him taking a lot of damage, going to be forced into that ultimate here, and if Neja did not that Chernobog there, we would be seeing a different story here. But it looks like Vika Fortunato forced into that all. Hawk forced into the Aegis, and they're going to pick up Hawk right there. The Thor dunk comes down, though, and Papa Nike will disappear as Vile Artist disappears as well. And the Goose is loose as he tries to find his way out of this fight. ODST Spartan looking for his way in. A fantastic return on from him. Beast Aegis forced, but will it be enough as Beast Aegis from himself is forced? The Goose, Low Shack getting in there as well. As ODST Spartan tries to find his way on out, but Dorky Wannabe Goth really wants him dead in this situation. The Ymir wall will not hit him, so he will not fall as he continues to run away as he finally escapes the clutches of casual mains.
Vic and Hawk step way too far up. They take a 2v4. Hawk ends up falling, but Vic goes up into that Anvil of Dawn and hits 3, completely turning that fight.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, then once again, after that, we saw ODST Spartan come in and ult and almost turn the fight again.
That was one of the fights. This set has been full of a ton of crazy fights. I don't think a single one has really made sense, but I'm here for it. This is some very entertaining Smite game.
Yeah, I mean, both of these teams just playing some borderline insane Smite here. We see Food Fighters all grouped up around this Fire Giant, and Casual Mates kind of spread out. Are they getting a little lazy? I mean, this Fire Giant is spawned. They could definitely pick it up. Vika Fortunato getting taken up into the skies as the rest of the team is on their way. Vika getting crit out and will fall. Dorky Wannabe Goth is forced to Fearless out of there. Papa Nike a little too far up, but that could be enough as we see Hawk on that left side looking to split push, looking to get this Phoenix, but ODST Spartan is recognized, and now this is an opportunity for another fair fight, a 4v4. Bo the Farmer may not realize the danger he's in, but maybe it's Food Fighters who don't realize the danger. We see the Goose forcing that dash out. Vile Artist getting Fearless into that wall as he tries to find a way out. He's going to have to ult out. Hawk comes in. We see the Goose looking to help Vile on his escape and escape himself as he goes out of there. The Goose looking to find his way out of this fight as well. As the rest of this team says, now we can finally pick up this Fire Giant. Drezzy picking up Pop and Nike. As over on this side, we see them just winning the 2v4 on this side of the map. Vile Artist coming back in, trying to find their way in, but it'll be too late as this Fire Giant is just going down as we speak, and that's going to be over as ODST Spartan, that Fire Giant comes over. We see ODST Spartan behind, looking to try and make some play, but he's going to be Fearless to that wall as the rest of the team is looking to make him fall. That ultimate coming out, a nice ultimate, but will it be enough? No, it doesn't do enough damage as Hawk picks up the kill. Vic going in on Vile, forcing that Aegis, but I mean, at this point, it's very, very tough if you're a Food Fighters fan, as they lost 2 in a very, very crucial situation, and they're going to be looking and hunting for these towers and hunting for these Phoenixes as they have the advantage.
A very clean fight from the casual mains. They realize that the Food Fighters send 2 to go deal with Hawk in a split-pushing Chernobog, and they just overtake that 4v3, and they end up winning it despite having someone in the grayscale. It's just very clean from them, very good on the map play, and they're just going to strip all the farm on this map they can.
Yeah, they're going to strip all the farm on this map, and normally I'd say, well, at this point, we're getting to the point to where farm doesn't matter, but that's only because I just looked at Casual Main's farm. If I'd taken a peek over to Food Fighters, I'd realize, man, they're about 11k down in this situation, and being 11k down and a Fire Giant down, I mean, at this point, you've got to play everything perfectly and then some. You've got to get a little lucky as well to win these fights.
Yeah, casual mains have just built such a lead that they can make a few mistakes. They can, make a couple mistakes and still win fights. They're just in a very commanding position. Everybody on that team, up an item, up an upgraded starter, upgraded the relics. It's just a very tough position to fight into if you are a member of the Food Fighters. It's just very hard when everybody on that team has finished their builds.
Yeah, I mean, the only one who hasn't is Vic, but Vic is still just doing enough damage. Going for that Spirit Robe, a little surprising to me. I would have preferred to see a Magi's Cloak, but still being tanky when you're ahead is just, it's despicable to play against. We see the Ymir wall coming out, but Papa Nike using that leap to get out of there, try and make that to try and, you know, he's got to stay alive, because if that happens, I mean, they cannot defend.
Unlike last game, the casual lanes do have a very strong front line. This tier going to be very tanky
walking
towards
in.
these
We
Phoenixes.
see Dorky Wanna Be Goth getting a Fearless on a Vile in the back. We see, but Food Fighters seem to be the aggressors here. We see Aegis Speeds coming out from ODST Spartan, but he will fall as the rest of the team looking to be in a tricky situation. Dorky Wanna Be Goth putting in a ton of pressure here. We see the Goose picking up one into the skies, but Dorky's creating space to make sure nothing happens there. As we see Papa Nike falls down, he jumps in, gets blown up. Vile's in a bad situation as they continue to chase him down. He's taking a lot of damage. Drezzy picking up the kill as the rest of the team dies down as well. ODST Spartan got picked a little too early there as we see Casual Main's gonna win this set 2-0. There is just no way they can defend here. The Goose looking to try and find a way to get loose, but they just don't have enough damage to deal with all of these members of Casual Mains coming in, and that is going to be a 2 on the way of Casual Mains.
Just a very strong showing from casual mains. All 5 roles just showing why they're one of the top teams in Reap right now. Just managing to really take hold of an early lead in both games and just pushing it through to the end. It's just very hard to deal with it when a team's playing that well.
Yeah, very, 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 very tough to kind of deal with these situations. I mean, we saw Thor is just a god. I don't think you can ever let Thor through. I think no matter how bad you got beaten by a pick last game, or how much you think something needs to be banned, if Thor gets through, man, Thor is a god that can single-handedly win games. And I think that someone, especially someone like Vic, on that character, you just cannot let that pick happen. You cannot let it through. And then Drezzy, look at Drezzy, man. 27k damage, 738. What a performance. He came in game 2 and showed, I mean, that's really all he needed, why he only needed one game to kind of show his stuff. A very, very dominant performance from him, and just overall, very, very strong and dominant performance from this Casual Mains team.
A very strong team giving us a very strong performance. No one on Food Fighters was really able to come alive. No one was really able to get that far into their builds. Duo pressure, just this Ymir. Bo the Farmer on this Ymir has turned into a very strong player god combo. I'm starting, whenever I think of Ymir, I'm starting to think of Bo the Farmer. Because this man, his ability to play this pick early, especially, just push that pressure through. It's very strong, and I haven't really seen anybody really able to match that in duo thus far.
Yeah, it's definitely very, very, very strong pick coming from him, and I think that's one of those picks you honestly might have to ban away from him.
Yeah, certainly possible as we move throughout the season.
Yeah, speaking of throughout these seasons, both of these teams have, I mean, a lot of hungry things to look for. Food Fighters looking to stumble back on their feet. I mean, they didn't have their captain days in this game, and if we've seen any recent performances, that definitely hurts to not have them there. You know, as Casual Main's looking standing tall, I believe they're still undefeated this season as they go in 3-0. Definitely one of those strong teams that we're going to be looking for, looking to find out and see kind of how they hold their mettle against some of Reap's elites, especially because a lot of these players are unknown. But that is going to be all for tonight. I'm your host, Muffin Man, joined by the wonderful, eloquent, my very own team captain, El Rosa. And that is going to be all for tonight. And we will see you guys tomorrow.